Conversation with Silvio Micali, founder of Algorand, a company that is building an infrastructure on top of a blockchain that is solving certain problems that other blockchain protocols have, in particular the trifecta problem of security, decentralization, and scalability. This is the Not Even Wrong podcast. It's April 8th, 2021. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is up 2.2%. The market is up 40 basis points. For the year, we are down 2.5%. The market's up 8.5%. We're underperforming by 11%. I had the chance to talk to Silvio Micali today. He is the Turing Award-winning, Gödel Prize-winning professor for math and computer science at MIT. So no need to talk further about his accolades. I think it's pretty obvious this guy is unbelievably knowledgeable about cryptography, mathematics, and computer science, in particular when it comes to problems that are inherent in the blockchain. And this is the key, I think, about this interview. When you read about Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these things, you never actually hear about the real problems that these protocols are having, and the reason is because it is so political, it is so emotional, and the Bitcoiners and the anti-Bitcoiners and la. But when you talk to a person like Silvio, who, by the way, is a very pleasant, nice human being on top of all the accolades and the incredible intellect that he has, so which shows that you don't have to be a nerd, you don't have to be an antisocial, incommunicable person to actually do very good work in this whole space. So anyway, talking to him gives you a very clear understanding. Okay, this is what it is. These are the problems, and this is where it's going. And this is really what matters for us at Orange Capital Partners as potential investors in the blockchain space. We need to understand, okay, what is it? What are the problems, and where is it going? So first of all, what is it? The blockchain is a decentralized ledger that is writing down anything that happens within the blockchain protocol. So any transaction which is ever done is accessible to anybody who is part of the network. So this is first and foremost very important. And therefore, there is a decentralized, efficient way to make sure that trust and identity are preserved. Now, having said that, there's the trifecta of problems, according to Silvio, which needed to be solved, which brought him, I don't know how old he is, but he's been around for a while, and he decided as a professor at MIT to start a company. And that alone should kind of make you think, okay, what's going on here? Why would somebody like that leave the ivory tower and start a company? You only do that if you're really convinced that there is a fundamental problem that has to be solved, and that there is also a fundamental upside here that, and not just financial, by the way, but in many ways that is to be gained. And this is exactly what Silvio confirms. So the problem is the trifecta of blockchain technology, the problem that you can't have at the same time decentralization, scalability, and security. And he thinks that he has been able to solve that with Algorand. The decentralization problem is the following: that if you want to have a decentralized database, then it has to be decentralized. So there can't be a central entity controlling servers, computers, and stuff like that, which is exactly the advantage of a centralized database, which is you have one point of access, you have control, you can optimize, you can do all these things that we all know. Let's say if you're a customer of JP Morgan, that is a centralized database, and they have the power to make their database faster, slower, etc. In a decentralized blockchain, nobody has that power because it's decentralized. So that is, and all the blockchains we talk about, in particular, the three that we care about here at Orange Capital Partners, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Algorand, they're all decentralized, of course. Now, number two is security. Security is the one that most people care about in cryptography, which is, okay, how do we make digital assets safe? How do we make them not hackable? How do we create a system where all that stuff which is being written on these decentralized ledgers is true, is not being tinkered with, is not being corrupted with, is not being changed. All these things have to be taken care of in the blockchain sphere, and that is something that cryptography and people like Silvio Micali have offered solution. In his own words, some of those solutions are decades old, some of those are newer, but he considers Algorand safe. I think Bitcoin is safe. Ethereum was not safe, got hacked in, I think, 2017. Then they bailed out that hack, and that's a problem we're going to talk about a bit later. But there's, of course, certain aspects of blockchain technology that even with Bitcoin and Algorand are not safe. For example, what if more than 50% of the compute power is in the hands of one entity? Then the whole system could be collapsing. But we don't have that problem right now with Algorand, and we don't think we're going to have that problem, because the number 3, which is scalability, is also part of the safety protocol of Algorand. And that is, I think, the really elegant key innovation here, which is a randomized sample of token holders, which is chosen to be part of the consensus choosing group. So in short, what Algorand is doing is they're using proof of stake, which is the same underlying technology and concept that Ethereum is using, as opposed to proof of work at Bitcoin. It is both Nakamoto consensus, in the sense that by showing up and doing something, you are already part of the consensus mechanism. So you don't have to be necessarily voted or be have some sort of other accolade. The proof of stake is the first entry to be able to be part of the voting mechanism of let's say, if you want to vote what is the next block going to look like, and if you want to validate that block, you need to own a token. But the key is that you also need to run a random lottery, and you're randomly chosen. This is the key. You're going to be randomly chosen to be part of that consensus mechanism, and therefore things like corruption, centralized intervention, all these things are still possible, but a lot more difficult, because, of course, randomly chosen delegates, or what we call federated consensus. So if we choose, let's say, if we use the analogy of democracy, if we have a representative democracy, if we choose our representative randomly, and if we do that, if the time between the choosing and the decision making is very short, we just don't have time to corrupt them. We don't have time to lobby. We don't have all these things that we happen in real life. So therefore, we can be safe that the system will work as the algorithm predicts, and not be corrupted. So this is the key invention by Algorand. There's a lot more here, and I don't want to go into details. This is way beyond my knowledge grade, but also I don't think necessarily important now for our listeners here. What matters is the following. Silvio Micali is a very, very decorated, very interesting person, because he's not a 20-something Silicon Valley garage type with my laptop in the coffee shop trying to change the world kind of guy. He's already achieved pretty much anything we can achieve in his career. Again, I said Turing Award winner and Gödel Prize winner. This is basically 2 Nobel Prizes. The Turing Award is the Nobel Prize for comp sci, and Gödel is the Nobel Prize for math. So he's achieved anything you can achieve in his field, and still he's going down the trenches. He's starting a company. He's building a company. There's a CEO. There's a chief product officer. All these things. Now he's the founder. His title is the founder. I actually haven't had the chance to ask him what he actually does, but he seems pretty involved. But I would think that it's probably a little bit the model that we see in CRISPR, where we have the founders and the creators of the technology being sort of there, lending their name, lending their expertise, but not being in the day-to-day business, which is fine. Of course, that's their choice, and we understand that. But the fact that he's even involved, he said he was ignoring Bitcoin and all these things until 2017, and then he jumped on the bandwagon because he saw the potential. Now, what is the potential? Where is this going? And here's the key. Because of the scalability of Algorand, Micali really believes that he can build an infrastructure of smart contracts that can have the kind of scale that it can really underpin the global economy. This is the vision. It is a very grandiose vision, and we like that a lot here at Orange Capital Partners. Don't be shy with your visions. go execute against them. You can fail, but if your vision is gigantic, then even if you fail and deliver only partially, you probably will still do a lot of good things. So this is really what's attractive about this. We're talking here about a man who is very, very versatile in certain parts of cryptography, in certain parts of comp sci, that fits the bill right now in what is actually the big problem in blockchain technology, and that is how can we scale at low cost? Because for anybody who's done business with Ethereum, for example, the gas fees are very high, particularly when it's smaller transactions. When I say smaller, let's say if you deal with thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, maybe if you go in the millions, it's not as bad anymore as percent of the underlying transaction. But if I do, let's say, a $5,000 transaction on Ethereum and they charge me $200 gas fees, that's a lot of money. That is really expensive. So according to Micali, the fees on Algorand are orders of magnitude less. And this is this is beautiful. I mean, how do you say, this is sound to my ears, because we've said that on this podcast many times. In the end, disruption is always driven by lowering the costs. Disruption is driven by lowering the costs of iteration in particular. So if you can lower the cost, if you can scale, if you can lower the transaction fees, if you can make the whole infrastructure a lot cheaper, a lot more people can jump on it, a lot more people can do business, a lot more people can get involved. All these things start happening. And this is, for example, why we're invested in CRISPR also, because the potential of the technology is one, but also the fact that it's democratizing the access to the technology is phenomenal. And this is what we believe Algorand is doing for blockchain. That's why we're very interested. We've bought a little bit of algos today. Algo is the currency of the protocol. We haven't invested yet, but I think a reasonable investment could be that we will pool a new fund, maybe a small fund, a seed fund, a couple $100,000, and just invest in the protocol itself. We believe that is, for us, for our purposes and our vantage point, more interesting than investing in the company, because the company is private. But this is in a nutshell how we think about this conversation, how we think about Algorand. So to summarize, Algorand is a company that is solving some fundamental problem in blockchain technology. This conversation is a very good base for us to start thinking about these problems, to start looking for other companies that are solving these problems. Algorand itself is a very interesting protocol. Of course, there are some questions also about, let's say, the valuation of Algo. Why did Algo not go up as much as Bitcoin and Ethereum? And it's my suspicion that part of it is because it is so efficient and it doesn't cost as much to mine and maintain the tokens and maintain the network, that maybe also that's why it's so cheap, because to mine Bitcoin at this point, you need so much compute power that it has to be expensive. So it's a bit like the Bitcoin is pulling itself on its own tail, and that is, of course, I would say, not a good thing. So, but again, for us, for our purposes at Orange Capital Partners, most important is that this is a technology that is lowering the costs, enabling access, giving democratizing blockchain technology even more. Because let's be clear, right now, yes, it is very the access to DeFi and all these things, and Coinbase and all these things are fine. It is possible. You can with one click go and borrow against your Bitcoin and buy this and buy that, but it is expensive. The fees are expensive. It's not cheap to trade in these blockchain, in the blockchain sphere. And Algorand is solving that problem. And it's solving that problem with the accolades of a double Nobel Prize winning professor here, again, Turing and Gödel Prize, which are two kind of proxies to Nobel Prizes. And what this makes us believe is the following. Look, I am 100% sure the Bitcoin protocol is a wonderful protocol. Satoshi Nakamoto has done phenomenal work there. The Ethereum Foundation under Vitaly Buterin has done phenomenal work. But all these things are a little bit bootstrap networks, protocols built out of nothing, which is great. That's part of their advantage. but they've also probably not solved most of it. It wasn't thought through properly. What Algorand is it's thought through much more deeply, much more. Okay, this is the problem. What is the theory? What is the science saying? How can we solve the problem? It's a lot more systematic. It's a lot more first principle based, and a lot less, again, bootstrapped. And that is great. That is great. That is not that the other protocols are bad or anything, again, but it is, for our purposes, a lot more interesting to think along those lines, to potentially invest in this company, in the protocol, or in companies that are building apps on top of the protocol, because it is solving for this fundamental problem. Again, it is solving for the dilemma of the trifecta, which is decentralization, security, and scalability. That is the key to our conversation. That is the key takeaway of our conversation. Just to end this episode, I want to just bring out a few more things that I've been thinking about. This is more, let's say, why are we so interested in blockchain technology? Why is Algorand such an interesting company for us? It's because we believe that as a society, we're at the crossroads of a new area of decentralized smart contract infrastructure. And that is very similar to in the Renaissance, when the Medici and families like that started trading internationally with other countries. This was the beginning of a new area. This was the beginning of contract law, the beginning of accounting. So we had a new area of dealing with trust and identity, and that created the Renaissance and later on the Enlightenment. We believe that we are at the same crossroads. Of course, the circumstances are very different. Everything is different, but the fundamental dynamics are very similar. The society is going more decentral. The transaction costs of doing business with people are going down. Identity and trust are going up. And this is an amazing boost for the economy. It's an amazing boost for freedom. It's an amazing boost for wealth creation, which is, of course, the main reason why we are in this business. Thank you.